People deluded. Breaking news, Arsenal fans all over the world. I hope you're doing well and safe. David Ornstein has dropped a major update in relation to former Wolves and current El Hilal midfielder Ruben Neves, who, as you know, has historically been linked with Arsenal and a lot over the last few weeks. Apparently, Ornstein has said he doesn't expect him to leave El Hilal in the upcoming January transfer window, people, and they said there's been no negotiations on that front for a departure. From one midfielder to another, Douglas Luiz is another name forever linked with Arsenal and consistently linked with Arsenal. Allegedly, we're hell-bent on signing him in January, folks. And apparently, we're ready to push to get a deal over the line. You're going to need a lot of money where he's concerned. Going back to a few summers ago, we had 3 bids rejected from Aston Villa. You know, Fabrizio Romano has said he remains on the list of potential midfield targets. He's currently 4th for midfielders with passing people in the Premier League. And for tackles, he's 13th above every other Arsenal player. So there's some skills he could bring to the table. Bayern Munich have been linked with Tomiyasu. I don't want to see that. And I think a lot of you don't either, people, which is just nonsense, really. You don't want to hear Tomiyasu leaving. We need everyone. From one potential midfielder to another, there's a man at Lyon I have a lot of time for, and his name is Skelly Alvaro. I believe he was signed in the summer from Solskjaer for Lyon, 21 years of age. Online and on the computer, on TV, it looks like he's 6'8", 6'6" at least. And he loosely reminds me of Diaby. Forgive me for the footage quality. I don't know why. Since I've exported this from Twitter, it has dropped. I think he needs to improve a lot in the final third, but he would be my wild card. I believe he joined Lyon last summer, so I don't foresee him leaving in January, especially because Lyon are quite struggling where the league's concerned. But I think he's got the raw materials. You know, he's 6 foot plus. He doesn't play like that. He plays like he's 5'8", like Santi Cazorla or something. I'm not comparing him to Santi, but you get it. I think he shows a willingness to use both feet. I think he's fairly agile for a big man. I think he's got a fantastic engine. I think, you know, he's good at starting counterattacks. I think he backs himself in the middle third. Apologies. I think he's a typical player we look for at Arsenal. As I said, he's still raw. He stands at 21 years of age, people. He's only made 6 Liga appearances so far this season. He's only played 6 times for Lyon, I believe, at this moment in counting. He is contracted until 2028. He was linked with Crystal Palace across the summer, and apparently Gladbach are eyeing up a move in the summer of 2024 for him. For his former club, he only played 35 times, so he is significantly inexperienced, and joining mid-season would be crazy. We are still forever linked with Ivan Toney, people, as the hunt for a striker goes on. We've also been linked with Vlahovic again, people. According to the Football Insider, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal have identified both of these players as potential targets. Good news where Martin Odegaard's concerned. Apparently, he will be back for the Brentford game, people. Big up you lot for tuning in. Now, let's start with Tomiyasu. I couldn't begrudge him for being enticed by Bayern Munich. It's a big club. They're in the Champions League. There's higher expectations of them in the Champions League than at Arsenal. Being at Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, you're going to hit the lottery and pick up a lot of titles, people. And I think when you look at Tomiyasu, I think the way he handles himself or portrays himself, life in Germany would be good for him, really and truly. For me, we can't let Tomiyasu go. Obviously, everybody's got a price, people. You know, there has been rumours Tomiyasu could be set to sign a new deal at Arsenal, rightly so. He's very, very versatile, whether he's a first-team regular or a rotation option, whether he plays centre-half, right-back or left-back, the man is needed at the football club, and it would be suicidal to let him go, especially in January, people, because, you know, we need him from a tactical front, and in terms of injuries, they can strike at any time. Even Benjamin White's carried a knock. Zinchenko's had knocks this season. Unfortunately, Timber finds his way out at this moment in time. So yeah, people, Tomiyasu's a player that's needed. Where Ruben Neves is concerned, obviously, you know, you did kind of wonder. It felt like you just made the move to the Middle East. Are you really going to leave at the first beck and call in January? Now, I get it. Playing in the top European league is great preparation for the Euros. I assume you're going to be part of the Portugal squad. You know, obviously, in general, if we were to sign Ruben Neves on loan, you would like to have a buy option in his contract so that obviously we could sign Donny. But, you know, in terms of a dry loan taking on some of his wages, a dry loan, not committing to signing him permanently, ticking us over from January until May. I think it would have been a good signing for a player that Mikel Arteta has had admiration for, from a Premier League proven player, for someone that's captained former clubs, and someone, you know, that has the skills of what we need in midfield. He's got good passing range, he's got a good engine. You know, it's not like we have many midfield options. It would have made sense, really, but can't begrudge his current club for wanting to keep hold of him. So I wouldn't let Tomiyasu go. Bit upset with Ruben Neves, but, you know, probably pessimistic anyways. We're going to have to do something in that regards. Douglas Luiz, it comes down to money. A couple of summers ago, we had 3 bids rejected. Whatever our final offer was, that, you know, and whatever Aston Villa were asking for at that particular moment, that's probably been, you know, that was probably chicken change compared to what they're asking for now. We bought Kai Havertz for 65 million. If you're Aston Villa, you're sitting there and saying, if you've got 65 million for an experiment, this is a Premier League proven central midfielder. Whether you're going to use him as an 8 or a 6, I think he's blessed with a technical level, Douglas Luiz. He's tenacious. Whether he is going to be a first team regular or a squad option, I think that makes our squad stronger. And obviously, Mikel Arteta and Edu have wanted him before. If you spent 65 million on Kai Havertz, if I'm Aston Villa, I want a similar fee, if not more. Rightly so. He's just signed a new deal, and currently Aston Villa under Unai Emery are flying high, and they're 5th at the moment in the Premier League. So why would you want to lose a player mid-season when you're trying to achieve what you want? Probably got more chance of signing Telemans, really and truly, a player who was once linked with Arsenal, hasn't really done much at Aston Villa, but letting Douglas Luiz go wouldn't make sense. So you'd have to give them something that is too good to turn down, and you're looking at a similar fee of 65 to 70 million. At the end of the day, I don't believe Douglas Luiz, I'm a big fan of his. I don't think he's worth it, but Kai Havertz wasn't worth it, and it isn't my money. And while I think maybe money could be better spent getting, you know, better midfielders for a similar sort of inflated fee, we could do a lot worse than sign Douglas Luiz, but I don't think it happens in January. I think, you know, we might ask them if there's a deal to be done, you know, and see if there's a willingness from Douglas Luiz, but you'd need a lot. In life, where there's a will, there's a way, and I guess, you know, that shows you to keep going. But Douglas Luiz could throw his toys out the pram, for argument's sake, all he wants. He's under a big contract, you know, he has to fulfill that. I don't know if Arsenal will pay whatever the asking price is, really and truly, in that regards. Where Tony and Vlahovic are concerned, I'd prefer Vlahovic purely because Mikel Arteta aggressively tried to sign him a few Januaries ago, and he's 23 years of age. I think Tony's turning 28, so there's more longevity there and more of an uptake in performance there. And based on the fact that Arteta wanted him, I'm all for that signing. You know, I don't know if a move in January is feasible. You'd imagine our priorities and the bulk of whatever we're going to spend in January is going to be on a central midfielder. Speaking of central midfielders, Juventus have been linked with Partey. I think it's a case of creative journalism, but for argument's sake, if giving them Partey and knocking off some of the transfer fee for Vlahovic, then it is feasible. But we would need to assure that we're signing a centre mid or two, really. I think we need a centre mid or two, even if Partey and everybody else is fit. So I probably think the striker things are a priority for the summer, or more feasible in the summer. And every report for Vlahovic linking us to Vlahovic. He's also linked with potentially signing a new deal, and that seems like the basis of why he's been linked with clubs abroad or clubs away from Juventus, if I'm completely honest with you. So yeah, man, I wouldn't mind Vlahovic. Ivan Toney, Premier League proven. I think you'll see a different Ivan Toney if he played for a team that's more on the front foot. Obviously, you know, he's gone through the leagues and it's not been a straight career for him, so there'd be that sort of thing for him. So I think he would be a good signing and someone that would hit the ground running. Does he take, how many levels does he take us up? You know, I don't really think it's fair to Toney because I don't think there's a basis, but I think Vlahovic takes us up a level higher than Toney. But saying that, I think Toney's general plays better. The fact that he is Premier League proven versus we don't know how Vlahovic would correlate to the Premier League is something to consider. Where Toney's concerned, again, you know, there's new rumours in the last few days that he could potentially sign a new contract with a gentleman's agreement to leave Brentford at the end of the season. Now, in business, a gentleman's agreement has nothing on legally blinding. You need to make sure your new agents with 18 months left on your deal, if you're going to sign a new deal, it needs to be in black and white writing, signed and dotted, that you have a release clause. I do think everyone's got an admiration for him. I do think Arsenal like him. I do think Chelsea and all the clubs like him, but I don't think he's their number one target, if I'm completely honest. And I think realistically, the summer, you know, is where Arsenal could get involved for Ivan Toney. Anything can happen, and we did get Raya from Brentford, so there might have been indirect discussions, or we've got good relations. But yeah, And then I don't think it makes sense to sign Ivan Toney in January. Yes, if you signed him, he hits the ground running, he gets 10 or so goals, and that turns a couple of defeats into draws, a couple draws into victories, ultimately more 3 points on the board. We're laughing, but it is a gamble. They're saying 65 to 80 odd million for Ivan Toney. It is a Euros year as well, where obviously, you know, he is Premier League proven, but if you move to another club where you're not quite doing what he's doing at Brentford, that might affect your England call up, where, you know, indirectly every striker that isn't Harry Kane for Southgate squad is fighting almost a losing battle. You know, rightly so. Kane's the best striker this country has. Kane is on the list. Rashford and Sterling ain't been in the squad, but Rashford and Sterling are guys that Southgate always says could play up front. So there's probably one position left, and that's Tammy Abraham ain't really been in the fold. Solanke ain't been in the fold. Wilson kind of knocks on the door here and there. Ivan Toney's previously been in the squad. The man of the moment, if it isn't Harry Kane and the other options I said, would probably be Ollie Watkins. So moving could enhance your chances of making that Euro squad. It could decrease them. And also, Brentford are losing two of their players in Mbeumo and Wissa in January to the Africa Cup of Nations, a bit like Arsenal with Partey. And I know it's an Asia Cup, but we're losing Tomiyasu. Why would you, you know, if Tony's, why would you want to sell Tony and let two of those players go? You know, Brentford haven't been firing in all cylinders. They've stood behind Tony, so they probably needs to stay in their mind. And if I'm honest, if I'm Arsenal, Chelsea, I think Chelsea are more likely to. It seems like there's a role for a striker, an out-and-out striker, but Chelsea, by a whole heap of players, been linked with Osman and got Nkunku, so that isn't necessarily feasible. But if you're Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, Manchester United, anyone that's been linked with Ivan Toney, the quality is not in question, but, you know, do you kind of want to see how it pans out? Because, you know, he's as the days and weeks go on, at some point in January, he's going to be able to play again. Now, he can train as much as he wants and do things with physios and personal trainers and be playing behind closed doors friendlies, but that doesn't replicate the intensity of the Premier League. So probably going to need to give Ivan Toney time to hit the ground running. You know, he's a quality player. Wouldn't surprise me if he's literally back with a bang. First game, first minute, he scores, but yeah, you're spending all that money and you don't know if he's in his fit and powers. And that turning 28, I do think you know, I like Arsene Wenger said, strikers getting their best times around them ages, their people. But I also believe, you know, you kind of want to see instant results at them kind of ages. That's kind of why I'm with Vlahovic. You know, for the money you'd spend for Vlahovic, you need an instant impact. But at 23, he's very impressionable. Mikel Arteta can mold him. I'd be happy with either striker, but I do think where Osimhen, Toney, Vlahovic, all of these guys are concerned, like not even necessarily the higher level of strikers, but the household names that are linked with clubs, I think that's a summer thing. You know, then you've got the Garassis, the Bonifaces, the what's my man from Feyenoord, people, Jimenez, these kind of players that are kind of been on the scene for 18 months, 2 years. They're a bit of wild cards. I do think you could bet on one of those, but even them, you know, Feyenoord are asking an arm and a leg for Jimenez. We all know the striker market is on the floor. So it is what it is, people. Where Mr. Alvaro's concerned of Leon, again, apologies for the footage. I just like what I see from him, really. You know, the jury's still out, but I like his physical qualities. I like his tenacity. I like his engine in midfield. I like his technical level, his willingness to use both feet, his ball carrying abilities. I do think there's real components, and I do think at some point you'll see him in the Premier League. As for potential and ceiling and all that stuff, honestly, I don't know. I just call it as I see it, and I like what I've seen. And obviously, big up Odegaard. We need him for Brentford. Apparently, Nathan Collins of Brentford might not be involved. We need every player fit as we can get, people. So we're gonna have to see what the return to Premier League action on Saturday evening is going to say for Arsenal against Brentford. It'll probably be a nervy one. But yeah, that's all my thoughts, people. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. Stay blessed. Smash the like button, comment, subscribe, boost the YouTube algorithm. One love.
Because always use that active red light defenders. I think it's like